The Distant Dawn. A story of hope. The rain poured down in thick sheets, drumming against the roof of Ava's car. She tightened her grip on the steering wheel, staring at the dim glow of the streetlights through the fogged-up windshield. The world outside was blurred, much like her future. 3 weeks ago, everything had been fine. She had a stable job, a small apartment, and a cat named Milo who waited for her at home. But then, the company she worked for shut down without warning. With barely enough savings to last a month, she had been searching desperately for work, sending out applications to every place that might take her. So far, silence. Tonight had been the worst. She had gone to an interview at a marketing firm, her last real chance, only to be turned away before even sitting down. They had already filled the position. Now, she sat in her car, parked outside a small diner at the edge of town, the neon sign flickering above the entrance. Her stomach growled, but all she could afford was a cup of coffee. With a deep breath, she grabbed her coat and stepped out into the rain. A chance meeting. The bell above the diner door chimed as Ava walked in, shaking water from her sleeves. The place was nearly empty except for a man behind the counter, wiping down a coffee pot. He looked up and smiled. "Rough night?" he asked. She sighed and nodded. "Yeah. You could say that. Take a seat. Coffee's fresh." She slid into a booth near the window, watching the rain. The man, whose name tag read Thomas, brought over a steaming cup. "On the house," he said. Ava looked up in surprise. "You don't have to. Consider it a small kindness," he interrupted. "Everyone needs a little hope now and then." Something about his words stuck with her. She wrapped her hands around the warm cup and exhaled. "I used to believe that," she admitted. "But I'm not sure I do anymore." Thomas leaned against the counter, studying her. "You lost something important, didn't you?" She nodded. "My job. And with it, my security. My confidence. I feel like I'm sinking." He didn't reply immediately. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, folded piece of paper. He placed it on the table. "This was given to me years ago," he said. "When I was at my lowest." Ava hesitated before unfolding the paper. Inside, written in careful, slanted handwriting, was a quote, "The darkest night will end, and the sun will rise." She traced the words with her fingertips. Something about them stirred something deep inside her, a feeling she hadn't allowed herself in weeks. Hope. The road forward. They talked for a while. Thomas shared how he had once been in her position, jobless, hopeless, barely getting by. But someone had extended kindness to him when he needed it most. "I want to tell you things will magically get better overnight," he said. "But I promise, if you keep moving forward, even when it's hard, you'll find your way." Ava left the diner that night with more than just a warm drink. She left with a spark inside her, a tiny ember of belief that maybe, just maybe, things could change. And they did. A year later, the diner was busy, filled with laughter and conversation. Ava stood behind the counter, refilling a customer's coffee. She had found her way back, just as Thomas had promised. It had taken time, persistence, and countless rejections, but she eventually found a small job at a local marketing agency. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a start. One step led to another. She rebuilt her life, piece by piece. And when the diner needed extra help, she picked up shifts to make ends meet. Now, she wasn't just surviving, she was living again. The bell above the door chimed. A young woman walked in, soaked from the rain, her face etched with exhaustion. Ava saw herself in her eyes. She poured a fresh cup of coffee and walked over. "Rough night?" she asked. The woman sighed. "Yeah. You could say that." Ava smiled and placed the cup in front of her. "On the house," she said. "Because everyone needs a little hope now and then." Dear listener, please like, subscribe and share my channel for other topic. Thanks from Relax Audiobook.